I think we are still not there.
Yeah.
Still not there. I think we are sometimes arriving late, but I think
Somewhere in Liverpool's pre-season, Andoni Iraola has already made a decision most fans haven't noticed yet, and if he follows through on it properly, it might be the single boldest call of his entire first season at the club. Trey Nyoni made 2 senior starts last season, 18 minutes of actual Premier League football across an entire campaign. And yet the case for him starting in central midfield on opening day, not as an emergency option, not as a rotation piece, but as a genuine first-choice selection, is stronger than almost anyone outside Liverpool's own coaching staff seems willing to admit. That's not a reckless take thrown out for a thumbnail. Let's actually build the case properly, because once you look at what Liverpool's midfield options genuinely look like right now, and what Iraola's system specifically demands, starting a 19-year-old from day one stops looking like a gamble and starts looking like the single most obvious decision available to him. Let's start with the competition for that spot, because this only makes sense once you see how open it actually is. Gravenberch is Liverpool's clearest incumbent, and rightly so. He's developed into one of the best deep-lying midfielders in the league. But Gravenberch's game is built on composed distribution and positional intelligence, rather than the aggressive, ball-winning duels Iraola's high-risk pressing system depends on behind it. Alexis Allister offers vision and press resistance, but has never been a natural destroyer either, and he's coming into this season off the back of a genuinely draining World Cup campaign with Argentina that took his side all the way to the final. Curtis Jones is entering the final year of his contract with reported interest from Inter Milan hanging over his future, hardly the ideal circumstances to hand him a nailed-on starting role in a brand new system. And Liverpool's reported £80 million interest in Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton has reportedly cooled, with Iraola himself said to be looking elsewhere in the market rather than pushing that deal through. Add all of that up, and you get a central midfield picture that looks settled on the surface, but is actually far more fluid than most fans realise. There's no undisputed, obvious starter for the specific role Iraola's system needs filled. The ball-winning, transition-breaking 6 that sits just in front of the back 4 and turns defensive recoveries into forward progress in a single motion. That role has been vacant at Liverpool since Fabinho left in 2023, and none of the players competing for it right now fully replicate what he offered. This is exactly the kind of genuine opening that gets a teenager an actual chance, rather than a token appearance in a dead rubber. Now let's talk about what Nyoni's actually shown when given the opportunity, because this isn't blind faith in potential. In Liverpool's opening pre-season friendly, a 4-2 win over Sunderland in Nashville, Nyoni came off the bench and in just 45 minutes created 3 chances, more than anyone else on the pitch that day, 7 passes into the final third, and defensively 3 tackles, a block, an interception, and 5 recoveries, more defensive actions than any other player involved in the match. That is, in a single half of football, a genuine demonstration of exactly the dual profile, defensive disruption plus forward progression, that the role specifically requires. Liverpool Echo's Paul Gorst gave him 7 out of 10, singling out his intelligent and purposeful use of the ball. Academy director Alex Inglethorpe has already gone on record saying Nyoni looks ever so comfortable training alongside the first team, adding he has every confidence the midfielder will go on to play a significant number of games for the club. Iraola himself has described him as good on the ball and someone who reads the game well, while noting his off-the-ball game still needs development. That's not a manager humouring a kid in a press conference. That's a specific, honest scouting assessment from someone deciding whether to actually trust him with real minutes. Here's the part that makes the day one argument specifically compelling rather than just a general case for giving him more football. Iraola's entire coaching identity has been built on trusting a clear system over reputation. At Bournemouth, he consistently prioritised players who fit his profile of press, transition and directness, regardless of how well known they were, and he did it while constantly losing his most established players to bigger clubs. That's a manager with a genuine track record of throwing lesser-known players into important roles and being proven right. There's no reason to assume that Patton stops just because he's arrived at a bigger club with more scrutiny attached to every decision. There's also a squad freshness argument that's genuinely specific to this season. Allister and several other Liverpool players are returning from a World Cup summer, meaning their pre-season preparation has been compressed and their legs will carry more accumulated fatigue heading into the opening weeks. Nyoni, by contrast, spent the summer building fitness specifically around first-team training and pre-season friendlies rather than an international tournament, which means he could genuinely be the fresher, sharper option in exactly the opening fixtures where match sharpness matters most. Let's get into the tactical specifics of why starting him, rather than easing him in from the bench, actually matters for how Iraola's system functions. A substitute appearance late in a match is a fundamentally different task to starting. Coming on with 20 or 30 minutes left, a young midfielder is usually entering a game that's already established its rhythm, often against tired opposition legs, with license to play with freedom because the platform's already been set by others. Starting is different. It requires reading the game from its very first minute, setting the defensive tone for the entire team, and doing it without the safety net of being able to simply react to what's already unfolded. If Iraola genuinely believes Nyoni's positional reading and passing range are ready, as his own comments suggest, then starting him is actually the more honest test of that belief than continuing to use him as an impact substitute. Cameo appearances can flatter a player's underlying readiness. A full 90 minutes against a well-organised Premier League opponent cannot. There's a broader development argument worth making here because rushing a young player rarely happens without a genuine tactical reason behind it, and there's a specific developmental logic that applies to defensive midfielders in particular. Positional reading, understanding exactly when to hold a line, when to step into a tackle, and when to simply screen a passing lane rather than committing, is a skill that's built almost entirely through repetition in real matches rather than training ground drills. The longer Liverpool wait to give Nyoni that repetition against senior opposition, the longer it takes him to develop the specific game intelligence Iraola's system needs from that exact role. Starting him early isn't reckless from a development standpoint. It might actually be the only way to accelerate him toward the level the position eventually demands. It's also worth pointing out how Iraola has historically handled exactly this kind of decision, because his managerial history at Bournemouth offers a genuinely useful precedent. He built his entire reputation there on trusting unheralded, lesser-known players inside a clearly defined system, rather than chasing reputation, and he did it while his best players were sold out from under him summer after summer. That's not a manager who defaults to caution when a system fit is obvious. It's a manager whose entire career has been built on the opposite instinct, identifying the right profile for a role and backing it, regardless of how untested the individual might look on paper. There's a reasonable argument that Nyoni represents exactly the kind of decision Iraola has made successfully, repeatedly, throughout his entire coaching career so far. Now, let's be properly fair to the other side of this, because a case this bold deserves real scrutiny rather than blind advocacy. Nyoni is 19 years old with 2 senior starts to his name, both in a domestic cup competition against considerably weaker opposition than a Premier League title challenge will provide. Pre-season form, however encouraging, comes against sides frequently fielding weakened or heavily rotated squads, and there's a meaningful difference between a strong 45 minutes against a rotated Sunderland team and holding your own from the opening whistle against Arsenal's champion squad or Manchester City's rebuilt project under Maresca. Iraola's own acknowledgement that his defensive game still needs development is a real concern, specifically for a role that depends on relentless positional discipline under pressure. There's also the psychological dimension being thrown into a starting role too early, in a title race under intense media scrutiny, has derailed promising young careers before, and there's a genuine risk that a difficult opening month could damage his confidence more than a gradual introduction would. And there's the matter of squad security itself. Reports of genuine loan interest from championship clubs and sides in Scotland suggest Liverpool's own hierarchy haven't fully committed to a first-team pathway for him this season, which complicates any argument that he should be an automatic day-one starter rather than a developing option being carefully managed. Those are legitimate, serious concerns, and dismissing them just because few pre-season cameos went well would be dishonest. But weigh all of that against what Liverpool's actual alternative looks like. A settled central midfield with no genuine ball-winning six. A manager whose entire system depends on exactly that profile functioning behind an aggressive press. And a teenager who, in his only real opportunity so far, produced more defensive actions and more chances created than anyone else on the pitch. Waiting for a safer moment to start him assumes a safer moment is actually coming. Given Liverpool's current squad picture, it might not be, and the longer that specific gap in midfield goes unfilled by a genuine specialist, the more it costs the team in exactly the transition moments Iraola's football depends on most. So here's where this lands. Starting Nyoni from day one isn't a sentimental academy story or a fan's wishful thinking dressed up as analysis. It's a genuine reflection of Liverpool's current squad reality, a role that's been vacant since Fabinho left, a manager whose system specifically needs it filled, and a teenager who's already shown, in the one real chance he's had, that he might actually be ready for it. There's a version of this season where Liverpool ease Nyoni in gradually. A substitute appearance here, a cup start there, and by the time he's genuinely trusted with a regular Premier League role, the title race has already been shaped by other players filling that gap imperfectly. And there's another version where Iraola trusts what he's already seen in training and in that Sunderland, Wrexham and Leeds performance, hands him the shirt from the opening weekend, and Liverpool spend the whole season with the exact profile of player their system has been missing since 2023. Which version actually happens says as much about Iraola's conviction as it does about Nyoni's readiness. Anyway, that's my take. Let me know down below if you'd actually trust Nyoni from the first whistle, or if you think that's too big and ask this early. Subscribe if you want more of these. I'll see you in the next video.